Welcome to our third special episode together with Nord Security. We will take you on a journey through cybersecurity from the beginning to the end. We have talked about the importance of great passwords and VPN technology, so now it's time for
files, keeping your information away from ransomware attacks, yet in the cloud with all the modern features. But how does it work? And what security challenges do companies face?
Right, so you're listening to IT-säkerhetspodden Special. I am Mattias Jadesköld, and the person who sits next to me is of course Erik Salitis. This episode is called Keep Your Data Away from the Attacker. And with us in this episode is Nord Security's own Aivaras Vencevičius. Welcome, Aivaras.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so nice to have you. So let's talk about your role in the beginning. What do you do at Nord Security?
Yeah, so I am head of product at NordLocker, which is our encrypted cloud storage service solution. So I'm leading the product team in developing that product for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're located in Vilnius, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, Vilnius.
Yeah. So how is everything there at the moment?
Oh, it's fine. We are hanging in there, making sure that we secure everything what we can secure.
Yeah.
But it's going well. Thanks.
And I guess since the situation is like this, maybe you have even more things to do in the security business at the moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in the times of crisis, and unrest, businesses starts, and nowadays, then it's not only a warfare; it's a cyber warfare also going on. So businesses definitely pay more attention in how to protect everything in what they do, from files to passwords and networks. So absolutely, we have a lot of work on our side, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, this is our third episode. We have talked about the initial phase of attack, and now we're going to talk about the challenge about storing your information and the data. Why is this important for you, Aivaras?
Well, I know, as an individual and as a company, we become more and more reliant on technology. We store more and more data on files, on data and digitally. So the value of the personal data increases, and together with that, the risk of losing it increases. So we need to think more and more how to securely handle that and store that information. And, cloud is one of the best options right now, for it offers unlimited storage, cost effectiveness, convenience, and in some cases, even military grade encryption. So I think it's the key in solving a lot of problems that businesses and individuals faces now in terms of the cybersecurity. So it's really important for me personally, and then as a part of our business for sure.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's start with the attack perspective. When it comes to secure your information or data, we need to think of an attack. And the most severe attack maybe at the moment is a ransomware attack. So how does ransomware works?
Yeah, so absolutely. Ransomware becomes a sort of a hit in the environment and the industry. So ransomware, simply put, is a computer virus that takes over the targeted device, restricts the owner's access, and then demands the victim to pay ransom to get their device and their files back. And ransomware is not something new. It's been here from very early 90s, but it gets more and more sophisticated every day. It targets much more precise. It targets with a context and all that. So it can steal your files, whether you're individual or your business, or you are a business. It can steal your files. It can lock it up. It can threaten to public announce it, and your businesses can go into standstill because of that, because we rely more on technology, and because those ransomware attacks becomes more sophisticated and targeted. This is making more and more damages for business.
Yeah. A little bit of a story back to the 90s. One of the first ransomware, if you want to. It is funny because it was a virus that overwrote and encrypted the boot sector. And when you started the computer, it said, you have to gamble for it. If you it's like what you saw, one-armed bandit. If you won, the computer started. If you lost, it deleted everything.
That's tough.
And And I must say, these days ransomware is not that fun. They're usually not that creative as previously.
Yeah.
they just ask to pay,
Yeah.
usually.
No gambling involved, unfortunately, and sometimes, as I read on your website, they threaten to publish stolen information and publish it on dark web and so on.
It's called double
extortion.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, why is information valuable for organizations?
Why is information valuable for organizations?
Yeah.
And especially nowadays, as I mentioned before, almost all organizations runs based on information of their clients, their customers, patients. So if you get cut off of it, the business simply cannot operate. It's not that we store, our data, our customer data now on paper. Everything is digitally. So, for example, if you are hospital and treat a patient, and if you no longer can access that information, that medical history, or bank, and you're giving out the loans, and you cannot access the financial statement of your client, you simply cannot perform your day-to-day task until it's sorted out. So.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem, and moreover, in these days, than that, we have more sensitive information on these files, and we have more regulation about securing that information. So business is not only obliged to, it's not just about business operations. It's about the business exposure to different GDPR, loss of customer data lawsuits, and reputation, and many more things. The societal impact of it, the financial impact of it is just crazy.
Yeah.
And the information is the lifeblood of organizations at the moment. No matter what businesses you are, you are more or less exposed to data, and you're handling data online digitally. And some business cannot even run a day without being able to access their data. So
it kind of comes back to the fact that the more you are relying on internet for your day-to-day businesses. I mean, just think about Amazon being gone for a week. They may not survive, at least not the division of the company. Whereas other things is, you said something about legality. You can have legal demands on you. And you probably have, because all businesses need to have functioning economic and financial records. If that gets lost, that's going to be nasty for the CEO.
Yeah, and for business, for the customers, and before, couple of years ago, or 5 years ago, before GDPR and all that, it was not that you lose a file, you lose customers, you lose reputation maybe, but after all different regulations came in and all that, so there's only not just that, it's much more severe, and users puts a lot of trust into organizations, so you need to handle it with very, very careful approach,
absolutely,
approach.
Because a GDPR strike, if you want to, I don't know what you call it, if they actually take you into audit there after something happens, it's like you could lose 4% of your revenue or something. It depends on the region, and then obviously GDPR for Europe, it's a big thing, and it's quite a huge losses. But we're talking about massive losses and massive fines out of it.
All right. In some way, backup is a key thing when it comes to ransomware attack. Is there anything to consider regarding backup and restore?
So data backup is essential, I think, for business to run smoothly after an attack. So, however, if an organization is hit by ransomware, this means their data is now in the hands of hackers, and they can still cause a lot of damage by, leaking into competition, cause a scandal or make it public. But having a backup essentially doesn't take you out of business. You can still run and access the hacks, and you can simultaneously run your business, but then deal with that attack. Whereas if you don't have the backup, you're doomed. I mean, what you can do, you can stand still and consider whether to pay, or can we retrieve this, all that. So the backups are the key in terms of keeping the business afloat. It doesn't solve everything, but it helps you in a fight for sure.
But here's another thing. I mean, they looked statistically on, if you get your data ransomware, if you want to, encrypted, and many people that pay, they don't get anything back. Sometimes the keys are lost, and sometimes, they were crooks. They were crooks all along, but I mean, they're worse crooks because they don't give you anything back.
Exactly. They are, I imagine the state of individual or organization when they are experiencing attack. They want to get this done and sorted as fast as possible. So they're not thinking that straight at the moment. If I pay, they may come back, but usually it's not the guarantee that they do. And the more we pay, the more we encourage this industry of ransomware. So it's really dangerous ground of paying off the ransomware, attacks. It's better to invest in that money into the, cybersecurity and be protected from that.
And backups are generally unreliable. I mean, not because they are per se, more like people don't understand how to secure, and the systems can delete their own backups, and that means so will the ransomware hackers, and others are like, it's very easy to administer our backups because we use the same password as for everything else, and it's game over that way.
Yeah, I mean, with even the backups, you have to be smart. There's different solutions, different methods to do backups and all that. So, when you do your backups, you need to think about the ease of access, the security of the backup, and there could be a lot of problems related to the backup. So you have to know how to do it, how to run it, and you need to make it your daily routine of storing backups in a secure way.
And also, I read on your website, it's kind of interesting that there are other mechanisms, except for backup, of course, to protect your business from ransomware. Is there anything you like to highlight from what you also recommend? Yeah,
absolutely. I always say, this saying, you are as strong as your weakest link in cybersecurity is really holds the ground and holds the truth. I mean, you can protect one of the room really nicely, really high-end technology, but then if your lock is not right or is not that advanced, you do. So basically, you need to really think holistically here. So basically, securing emails, attackers may just try to penetrate your network in a variety of ways, like phishing emails, really simple ones, but still very popular. So you must have a secure network. Use VPNs, use password, protection and all that. Then software updates. I think that's the key as well. So a lot of security tools, different software, they are continuously improving their software, and most likely the attack will happen on the vulnerability that your software has. So you need to make sure that you keep updating your software all the time as a business. Usually business is a bit slower than individuals, but even with individuals usually don't update as often as they should. And usually it's annoying, but you have to pay attention to that. Then in general, you have to evaluate your current security measures. Are you using, different firewalls, VPNs, password managers, file encryption tools, and all that? So as individual or as organization, you just need to have a good, realistic look at your data, which of that data is really sensitive, and try to think, what if I lose it? How much it costs for me? Do I want to lose it? And then be proactive on this. Make sure that you have at least sort of a surrounding tools that helps you protect it. You don't need to hold everything under, the 6 key gen or whatever, but just make sure you hold your essential business data really safe. But then again, you just need to think around, are your network is safe? Are your email is safe? Are your passwords are safe? Are your files are safe? And I think most important these days is to training the team. Basically, if you are a business, for example, and you get this new shiny tool of cybersecurity, but if your team doesn't use it, it makes no sense. So you need to make sure that you get the tools which your team will like to use, but then you also at the same time, we need to train the team to use it. So, the more effort you need to make into this training, the less secure you are. So make sure that you get the tools which really fits people's needs and it's easy to use, and then you train them to use. So I think that's the key point, I guess, in this.
And also set up a response plan is something that you highlighted on your website. How does that work?
So these continuous business continuous contingency plans and all that. This is a really big topic now in terms of we need to be prepared in terms of what if I'm cut off of my data, what if I cut off of my files, my devices and all that. So you need to think through the strategy based on your business, of course, or even if you individually can think about it, but it's most related to business. So we need to have this workshops or strategies on what if scenarios. Do I have essential data somewhere offsite or somewhere stored in different cloud or wherever, So you need to make sure you have plans on what if situation. Obviously, nothing will go based on plans, but at least you know the first steps, what to take when something hits the fan, sort of say. So
yeah, I understand. The whole thing kind of cooks down to one observation, and it's like when we started out, there were like 2 or 3 important things. The big triad of firewall, patches, and passwords, and then we added more and more and more, and now you have to take care of everything from how do I survive this? Are the backups secure? The firewalls, the patching, the encryption. I mean, it gets more and more complex.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But then then you need to think about, and this is what we are about. We thinking holistically about security, but we're thinking that these tools works together.
Yeah.
So when we think about the features in NordSec, even as a file manager, or as a password manager, or as a VPN, we try to think these tools needs to work together. And for businesses, for example, we make sure that our admin panels of both products has this natural feel. So when you switch between products, you kind of know what is happening here. You don't use complete different products. So this is what we believe in, this, a circle of safety, but then the usability of that circle, because it becomes really annoying with all the tools and everything. You don't know where these gaps could be.
Yeah.
So this is where we're trying to navigate the customer and user throughout.
Yeah, and when we're talking about complexity, let's talk about the evolution of data or collaboration.
Yeah.
I've been around for a while, and in the beginning, we may be using a client and a file server and a file share. And that was it, and that's where we stored our information.
Yeah.
But nowadays, people are using Dropbox, OneDrive, sharing over internet, and different. I guess it's more complicated.
Yeah, and the thing is, complexity is the killer of security.
Yeah.
The more stuff you add on top of it, and the more things like, so you're storing in 5 different locations in the cloud and everything, then we have a whole different security, situation, huh?
Yeah. And Aivaras, what is the what challenges does this mean to organization when we talk about file collaborations?
Yeah, so you put it really nicely. Before we were thinking where to store the data. We have our local service and all that, and then the cloud came in, and in general, cloud environment is considered to be more secure for storing data than, for example, on-premises infrastructure or file servers. The servers can be destroyed in a physical fire, for example, or flood. Whereas when you get your files on cloud, it's there, and usually nowadays cloud solution is much more sophisticated. The reliability of those services is just insane. Mm-hmm. So for businesses and even individuals is the best option, I would say, these days. Of course, it gets you a challenge because which provider to choose. What storage is this? Is this encrypted cloud or not encrypted cloud?
Yeah.
When you move your data, you go through different stages. You sharing it, you storing it, you using it. Are I exposed in different sides of it, or is it just all encrypted? Is this end-to-end encrypted and all that? So this is the challenge. You need to understand that some of the cloud tools are not as protected as other cloud tools. It gives you, maybe some cloud tools gives you more flexibility on editing files at the same time and all that. But is this secure? And do someone can scan my files and collect data on my files that I'm storing in cloud? So these are very very important things to consider when choosing where and how to store.
Yeah.
And not even that, when we talk about, we talked about GDPR or other regulations before, data residency. Where is my data is at? Is it in this country or that country or where it is?
Yeah.
Then safety, again, of the reliability of that data provider. Is it some sort of a cloud, or small company which, doesn't know what they do with the cloud damages and all that, or is this a really reliable data cloud provider? So you need to accessibility, availability of service, after some sort of a blackout and all that. So this is why we pay a lot of attention on our side to make sure that we have those bases covered, to make sure that our clients can trust us in that.
And about cloud storage, it's been very complicated because I work a lot with the Swedish public sectors, and many of them moved to the cloud for some years ago. But now, since GDPR and it's kind of, it's really hard. Can we store files in the cloud, and what security mechanism? It's quite hard.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's
Okay, so and you seems to have a solution, NordLocker. How does this solve the problem? First of all, what is it?
So NordLocker is a tool which offers both local file encryption and end-to-end encrypted cloud storage. So we have a tool, a hybrid tool, which is really, I would say, one of the kind in industry at the moment, where we can, offer the users encrypt files locally. So you just encrypt using our encryption mechanism, but you store files on your machine. But at the same time, you can pick some of those files or back up those files into, our end-to-end encrypted cloud storage, or store it there permanently, like store just there to make sure that it's available anytime for you, your usability and all that. So we have this hybrid solution of end-to-end encrypted cloud storage. And this service fits for both individual and business clients. So we try to cater for both groups of these clients, individual needs and then also the business clients.
Okay, so from a consumer perspective, it's like it's where I can store my personal files and photos and so on. But on an organization, I install NordLocker on an existing file server, for example, in my IT data center.
Not exactly.
No?
Basically, use essentially the same tool. So basically, there is a ways how you can, encrypt files of your organization and store those encrypted files in any cloud provider that you want or any place that you want. So it can be used to encrypt files and store it somewhere. But why bother? Because we really solved that issue, backing up and all that. So by using NordLocker, you don't need your cloud provider or your local servers for that. So you can encrypt files, store them locally wherever you want, on your machine or your server or any other cloud if you want to. But then we also added encrypted cloud, so you don't need to worry about that. You can sync it in a second in the same environment, in the same tool. So it's really fast and reliable. And then you protect it all the way up end to end. This is what I mean. You don't need to compromise any part of this path of encryption, using and sending. So that's what we try to solve with this tool.
Okay, and how does that prevent from a ransomware attack?
So, no business is safe from ransomware.
No.
It could happen everywhere. But the backup stored in NordLocker and encrypted file, allow you to restore valuable data without paying the attacker. So there are a few things. If you get attacked by ransomware, so you either lose your access to files, or you get threatened to make those files public. So if you encrypt with NordLocker, first of all, so maybe attacker cannot access it, what is already encrypted, and you know the key. So even though your files get stolen, they cannot be viewed. The attacker doesn't know your encryption keys. So you're safe. They get encrypted files, which says nothing. So you don't lose it.
Yeah, that's
on the other hand, yeah.
That is great, but I just wonder. Okay, that's all the most important part of the problem. But still, if they encrypt your data, you can't get it back, or?
Yeah. So exactly. So if you store it on cloud, then you can get. If your device is so basically, if you store a backup or data on your cloud. So you can access that cloud from any other machine. You can access it from a mobile device.
Okay.
Be safe. So your machine is corrupted, throw it away, and all that. But or just deal with the attack. But then, few things important: you don't lose your data, or you don't expose your data to the attacker. So the attacker doesn't know what you have. Yeah. And at the same time, you have backup, which you can use to run your business. So that's the two key areas which we need to get right in fighting this ransomware attack.
And together that forms a complete solution then, I guess?
That's what we are aiming for, absolutely. And we keep improving our protocols. We keep improving the usability of our to make sure that there is no exposure points of your data. Of course, there's many things that attacker can do, and it really depends on you how you handle it. If you keep your password from the NordLocker on your screen, then not much we can help with. We just say please use NordPass, our password encryption tool, So it really depends on the person, but we try to do everything what we can on our end to make sure we don't have weak points.
Yeah, not to be mean, but that is sometimes called a PEBCAC problem. Problem exists between, or you say, keyboard and chair.
Yeah, exactly. So this is where, the usability comes in. This is where we try to put a lot of focus about, is it simple to use for user? The user understands where the weak points is. And we do a lot of research in our company to make sure that we kind of learn user, and we kind of make sure that user knows the information about this. And it takes really few minutes to understand where's the weakest point. It's you. So you need to teach yourself. You need to develop yourself and be aware of it. It doesn't take a lot of time, but if you know key things around, storing your passwords or storing your data and not letting suspicious emails in or not opening. So there are some set of rules that if you know, you can be safe. So we also put a lot of attention to that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm curious. Okay, let's say if my organization using OneDrive, a part of Microsoft 365, do I need NordLocker? How can that be mixed in some way, complemented?
So the NordLocker can be complemented. There is a ways how you can, as I mentioned before, you can encrypt files and then store those files wherever you want. Those files will be encrypted, and you can only access those files via NordLocker and your encryption keys. So basically, that's the way you can use it. So basically, our solution is really complementing, sort of say. But again, what we're focusing on, that you don't need any other solutions. Basically, you can use our cloud to store that data. But if you need to, there is a ways. Obviously, we cannot guarantee for reliability and availability of our clouds that you store your data on. But at least encryption part can be done with NordLocker, and that encryption part is the latest technology, the latest algorithms, and military grade. So it works. But to make it easy, as I mentioned before, to make it really a smooth transition and does not intervene in your day-to-day activities, using the full NordLocker solution from local encryption to cloud encryption really does the magic, and then you can make your security seamless. Basically, it's there, but you're not seeing. You work as you used to, but it's extra layer of security there.
Okay, so let's say an example. I have a super important PDF file, top secret. So I can encrypt this one with NordLocker and then put it on my OneDrive if I want that, for example.
Yeah, so basically you'll find your encrypted file on your storage where you place it in your machine, and then you can move that file wherever you want.
Okay, yeah, and the private keys are they stored in your cloud, so you're able to decrypt?
Oh no! I mean everything. We are a user side encryption tool. So we don't know anything about what you store, and we don't know your private key. Everything is on the client, on the user side. And this is the latest technology that we use. So basically, we don't have, even if we want to, we don't have technical capabilities to see what you encrypt and what you decrypt. So we don't handle your data. You are the handler of your data. We just help you to move it to the cloud, but those files are encrypted. There's no way we can access it, and the private key is on your side.
Okay. So, so if I want to get started, how does I download the NordLocker app, and it's an app on my computer or phone, I guess. And what's
again,
next?
this is what we pay a lot of attention to that as well. So accessibility. So we have web access, so you can access it on web and start using our cloud right away. We have native apps in macOS and Windows. We have availability to use NordLocker in the mobile, and we also coming up with native mobile apps to make it even more nice solution for the user. So we have this array of apps. So you can access the app. You don't need to install anything, but you can only use then our cloud locker. So if you want to encrypt locally on your machine, then you need the app, which we do have for Windows and macOS. Then you download the locker, and then you just start encrypting, drag and dropping files. And as I mentioned, this is why we pay a lot of attention to make it as smooth as possible. For user is essentially the same file explorer or finder feeling. Yeah. So we don't need to have any high-tech skills to use our tool. So basically, you just start by downloading. It pops up really easily, and then you just start and dropping your drag and dropping your files into, and it's getting encrypted. And then you can choose it. It's a local stored file, local encrypted file, or you want to also back it up to the cloud or only store it on the cloud. So we also have a lot of features which helps you manage those files, which files are on your machine, which files are on your cloud.
Okay, and can I set the NordLocker to collaborate with my coworkers, for example, if I have a folder, this is within my team, for example?
Yeah, so this is actually what we just released, our solution for B2B clients.
Yeah.
So basically, if you are an organization, you are invited as a business user, you can share your locker, your safe environment locker, with your coworker or another B2B client or another user. And then you see the same locker. So you can share securely files through that locker with your colleagues. So that we also have.
Okay.
And we keep improving the experience there. I mean, what you can do, sharing via link and all that, this is all what we are working now at the moment. And the sharing part is really difficult part in these clouds. Usually when we see regular clouds, they know they can share, they can edit at the same time, but usually they don't speak about encryption part, because it gives you those exposure points when you're sharing something, when you're editing something, is actually protected at that moment. And we have really robust approach to it. We want to make sure that it's end-to-end encrypted, not just, encrypted at one part, but then when you're sharing it's not encrypted, then your editing is not encrypted. So this is where we put a lot of effort, and it takes time, and this is where our, real know-how comes in.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sounds interesting to get started with. And you have touched the subject a bit, but how does the backup works in NordLocker? It's stored in your cloud and... Yeah,
so in simple terms, you copy files stored on your computer to the NordLocker app, and with a couple of clicks, it gets encrypted. So basically, you drag and drop, it encrypts, and then you set, out of sync. We have some features, and you just choose where to back up. So you back it up to the cloud. So it's just that simple, You can choose to sync those files and back up those files in our cloud solution. So you can have both on your computer, or just copies, and that you can encrypt. You can send the file itself and do not store it on your machine, store it only on cloud, or have that backup. So it's really simple, and it's just that simple. It's a few clicks, and you have your backup ready and encrypted. The most important. And in terms of the cloud solution that we use, the provider that we use the durability of our provider is 99.9999 and can go on. So in other words, if you store 10,000 files with us, on average, we may lose one of them in every 10 million years. So, which means never. This is really important to know. That we can trust on a reliable cloud service. So the provider that we use, we can really be safe that we don't lose your files.
Okay, but in 10 million years, you might say that I will lose some
10 million. Yeah, I think.
Then we can. Then we can talk again, and then.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna have to complain here, because the sun is due to turn off in 6 billion years. And there's gonna be a lot of
10 million years. We won't have files per se like that.
Okay.
There will be telepathy or something.
Yeah.
Okay, we will have a follow-up podcast in 10 million years.
Yeah, exactly.
Deal. That's a deal.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so I guess I understand the importance now, how to maybe keep your information safer. Eric, do you have some additional questions to Aivaras?
Not really. I think we've gone through the whole important stuff there, because really the only thing that counts is, can we survive and protect ourselves from ransomware? And the answer seems to be yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We can do this. We just need to pay attention to our cybersecurity.
Yeah. And for the curious listeners, we will provide a link in the bio of this episode, so you can click the link and try NordLocker out.
Description. What's a bio? It's like about the person. Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Aivaras.
Yes.
Thanks again for having me. It was really nice talking to you guys.
And also, so this is our third episode. Our last and the final one the topic is never stop improving your cyber defense. And what's that all about, you might ask yourself. Well, you will know in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we really want to build up suspense, and then you have to wait a few weeks.
Yeah,
it's going to be unbearable. We want to know now.
Yeah,
but we won't tell you, okay?
No. Okay, thanks again, Aivaras. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.